Hi, this is Peggy Miller, HIghland Winds LLC, medical herbalist, and this is podcast Chronic and Specific number 20. Basically, for the time being anyway, this is probably going to be the last one. I may add to the series later on, but what I wanted to finish up with this last one was talking about the gut. um, I've referred to many of the things that I'll repeat here in prior segments of this podcast series. But one of the things that I've noted over time with my own health, but also with clients and in studying medical herbalism, is that many of the problems, whether it's heart or yin deficiency, memory issues, liver issues, there's always a correlating problem in the intestines and the general, the colon, the bowels, basically in the gut area. In fact, one of the things I always try to remind myself and remind others is that, and sometimes, for example, if you have nasal issues, nasal congestion, that can just be an infection in the nasal area related to any kind of toxins in the air. There could be mold in your house. A number of things can cause nasal problems. But another one that often can cause it is if you have a problem in your intestines. If you have an intestinal infection, then it can show up in the nasal passages. And in fact, that's often an indicator of this type of problem. And so basically, the symptoms in the intestines, whether you have regular evacuation or not, but also whether you have discomfort, whether you are urinating too often, whether you have discharges of different types, or whether in general you also have reactions that indicate an internal infection of some sort. With women often, they also have contributing factors like fibroids, other types of problems that are connected to a hormonal imbalance, and hormonal imbalances will also show up in the gut area. So the couple things I wanted to just talk about specifically today is irritable bowel syndrome, just because it happens and quite a few people have it. The first and foremost, if you've been diagnosed with irritable bowel syndrome, you find that many of the things you eat don't go down well, and you have serious problems. Often constipation is a part of this, or some people have constipation and then diarrhea. It goes back and forth depending upon what they eat. But irritable bowel syndrome is no fun for anyone. And there is a formula. It's made up of 3 herbs. And it's interesting what the 3 herbs are, because they indicate some of the issues related to irritable bowel syndrome. They are unprepared Rehmannia, which the difference between prepared Rehmannia and unprepared Rehmannia is that unprepared also helps remove heat from the blood. And it also nourishes. It's a very nourishing herb, but it also removes heat from the blood, which is an indicator of part of the problem, that there's heat in the blood. And this can come from a variety of causes. You can get heat in your blood from yin deficiency. You can get it from a childhood, disease, children that suffer from scarlet fever, different things that they get as children can cause heat to enter the blood, and it really needs to be removed. If it's not, then it can cause all kinds of things, nosebleeds and other problems throughout the system. And so heat in the blood is a part of irritable bowel syndrome. In addition, scrofularia is used. Scrofularia is an herb that helps to remove internal heat that comes from infections. Scrofularia is a gentler one than others, and it also is particularly good when you have heart yin deficiency. When there's, and a lot of times, by the way, heat in the blood and general internal infection can come from heart yin deficiency. When you have yin deficiency in the heart, it will contribute to a overall ability to have heat in your blood. That will be where the heat enters the blood. Blood is processed through the heart, and if there's a yin deficiency in the heart, it can impact the blood. So scrofularia helps to clear internal heat. It's a very gentle herb and very effective. And that is one of the other two. And the third one is Ophiopogon. Ophiopogon is an amazing herb that helps a great deal with stomach yin deficiency. It increases yin, and it increases it very well. And so basically, one of the goals of these three herbs working together is to increase fluids in the intestines. There's different approaches to increasing fluids in the intestines, but this one formula generally helps. And so it can often be a goal if you have irritable bowel syndrome. Usually you don't have enough lubrication in the intestines. They're not moist enough. Moisture I've talked about in terms of yin throughout all of these different segments. Basically, it's very important, and if you don't have enough moisture in your intestines, they won't be able to do the job. You'll get constipation. It can become very painful. There's a few other interesting things that can actually help the intestines kind of start working again. If you use a formula like the one I just talked about, but you also periodically eat more of things that include spices. Often I'll say, get some salsa, put it on your food, see if that helps. One of the things that different types of peppers, whether they're jalapenos or long peppers, different types of peppers can actually help stimulate, even though they're hot. It sounds strange, but they can help stimulate moisture, stimulate lubrication in the intestines. And so checking out peppers and adding peppers to your cooking in different ways, just like you'll notice in many types of foods. Thai food, they have their own pepper. It's very hot. Many types of different foods around the world use different types of peppers, and they can be very helpful in terms of helping your gut remain healthy. Other things, just in terms generally speaking with your intestines, regular dietary type things, sprouts, spinach, rice, congees can help rebalance the intestines. If you're having bloated abdomen, then you eat rice for a couple days. Cooked veggies. So just relying on cooking all your vegetables for a few days, all of them. Don't eat any fresh salad. Don't eat any fresh vegetables. Cook a lot of vegetables and eat a lot of cooked vegetables. That can also help the intestines kind of return to, a default position. So paying attention to what you put in your food And in addition, if you do have IBS, then looking to that formula to help restore the overall moisture in the intestines can really help. There are other things that generally are good to turn to anti-inflammatories in general, like oat straw, dandelion, and marshmallow. Marshmallow increases moisture throughout the body, and it can help over time increase moisture in the intestines. So, oat straw, it's a great anti-inflammatory. Another really good herb that just helps generally increase moisture in the intestines is burdock. Burdock is often used in many cultures. They cook with burdock. You grow it, it looks a little bit like a carrot. It's the root part that you use, and they cook with it just like you would cook with carrots. If you cook with burdock and use fresh burdock, fresh cooked burdock in your cooking, this can really help restore your intestines and help return your overall intestinal health to a moist working environment. It sounds a little strange, but keeping moisture throughout the body and restoring using anti-inflammatories and periodically even using, there are certain herbs that help cure infections in that general area. You can get a tiny infection in your intestines from anything you eat. Tiny pieces of fish bones can lodge in certain areas, and when that happens, you basically really need to eject them. Marshmallow helps with that, but plantain, you probably have heard of plantain. It's a great herb. You can often grow it as a broadleaf herb, and it helps to restore the intestines. It will help actually remove, if you take it as a tea, it will help remove different little tiny deposits, irritating deposits in the intestines. Hydrangea root, particularly from the hydrangea plant called the snowbell, hydrangea root, which if you go to any medical herb site, they sell hydrangea root. You'll see it. That really helps heal internal infections in the intestines. And often I would work with somebody, and other medical herbalists would as well. They will refer to using a little hydrangea with a little plantain, and that will help as a tea to flush out the intestines and help with any internal infection. Raspberry leaf is good. I often urge, people to use that as well in a tea form, because that can really help the intestines. Well, the intestines you can go on about, but basically my other main point here, as I close up here, is not only is your diet important, like eating peppers and burdock and things of that nature, but also watching how you maintain your gut. Enough cooked vegetables, plenty of variety, and it can make a huge difference with your overall physical balance throughout your whole body. So try to keep that in mind as I close up here. Thanks again to MCAT for carrying these. That's the local community television station here in Missoula, and to KFGM 101.5 on the radio dial, and HIghland Winds LLC channel, YouTube. And you can find us all there. Thanks. You take care. Bye.